In a season where the Mets have been caught in this constant cycle of trying to find reinforcements for players that are either injured or just no longer possess the skill to play with us anymore, it is possible now that our new number one prospect could be pulled up to the major league roster soon. Will it happen? Well, we'll hear what David Stearns had to say about that. Plus, will he hire a new GM after the position is still filled and empty in our front office? We'll hear his ideas about that. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to this new edition of Mets Digest with your host, of course, Michael DeAngelo, as you see on the screen. And before I get started, I'm not happy about something, and it is for two reasons. One, we are stuck at around 1,200 subscribers, and that's been like that for the past week. So what's going on with that? I have no idea. But two, Yankees Digest has passed us in subscribers. So that cannot happen at all, and that is why I'm disappointed. I don't know if it's because I haven't been appearing on here as much anymore. Y'all can let me know, but I'm not happy about that at all. We need to keep going. This is the fastest growing Mets channel on this app. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat, tell your cousins, tell, Louie down the street. This is your one-stop shop for everything Mets, news related, trade rumors, free agent signings, injury updates, team updates, anything right here. Me and Flobo Boys on top of all of this. He has been doing such a great job. We were just on top of the Eddie Rosario signing. That's crazy that him and JBJ are in our minor league system. But we'll get into the minor league. We'll get into the minor league news right now, and that is Mr. Brandon Sproat. And will he be pulled up to the major leagues? It is definitely a possibility. He has now been pulled up to AAA with the Syracuse Mets, and that is after absolutely dominating AA with the Binghamton Mets. He had a 2.45 ERA and 11 starts with 77 strikeouts, and it was capped off by a 13 strikeout performance in his last start with the AA Binghamton Mets, and that is what earned him his promotion to AAA. And Jeremy Hefner has been asked, do I think it's possible? Does he think it's possible to pitch in the major leagues? And he said, yeah, he probably can right now. And he's right. His fastball comes with a ton of control and tops out at around 101 on his best days. Recently, in his last couple starts in Syracuse, it has dipped down to around 97, 96. So, maybe there's some fatigue going on there. But for the most part, when he is fully healthy and good to go, that thing is just as fast as anyone else in the major leagues. He has been phenomenal so far, and David Stearns said the same exact thing. As we will take a look at this quote here. He wanted to say, first and foremost, with any player who's just getting to AAA, let's allow them to settle in and perform at AAA and get comfortable about opposition that's much more advanced than what they've been seeing previously. And then if that happens, then sure, there can be discussion for any player about whether there is a role at the major league level. That is Anthony DeComo quoting Mr. David Stearns. And this comes after he had his first start in AAA, which didn't go so well, gave up a few runs, and, obviously, like I said before, with the fastball velocity dipping, as it did again in his second start, as he only went around 3 or 4 innings and then got ejected after arguing a safe call at home plate after giving up his third run of the game, excuse me. And the manager of the AAA Syracuse Mets was ejected along with Sproat to cut short his second start with AAA. So things haven't been going so good these last couple days, or these last 2 starts for Brandon Sproat in AAA. But for the most part, after we see him settle in a couple of games, it is totally possible that he could be pulled up here with this bullpen still struggling. We are seeing now with the Oakland A's, Huascar Brazoban giving up runs, and other guys like that David Stearns has acquired so far at this trade deadline, not really living up to their fullest potential. So this could be another plan coming. We've seen David Stearns do this before with the Milwaukee Brewers. He did pull up Corbin Burnes and Brandon Woodruff towards the end of the seasons, where the Milwaukee Brewers were in the playoff going for a push. Pulled up his two top pitching prospects, being those two guys, as you know now, and this could be another situation with that, pulling up our number one prospect, Brandon Sproat, to the Mets right before the playoffs for a little push in that bullpen. And along with that, they're running out of arms for this, like in our pipeline at all. We have Christian Scott up there in the major leagues already, injured, and he's no longer considered a prospect anymore since the time that he spent there. Now we have traded away Tyler Stewart during the trade deadline, so that throws away another pitching prospect. And now it is Brandon Sproat who has sprouted all the way up to the number one spot after MLB did a re-ranking of everyone's pipeline. And remember, this guy was taken in the second round, specifically the 56th pick of last year's draft, and has already been phenomenal. Like most people in that draft class, it is a huge trend nowadays that these guys that have been drafted just in last year's draft are already making the major league rosters. We've already seen with the A's, who we just finished the series with, pull up their number one prospect, Jacob Wilson, who was drafted last year as well. So, this new class, generation of ball players that are coming in have just had this knack of being able to develop quickly to become major league ready talent. And we'll see if Brandon Sproat is up next, and if David Stearns will go back to his old ways of pulling up top pitching prospects right before the playoff race. Speaking of David Stearns, he has not hired a GM yet. Our last GM, remember, was Billy Epler. And ever since he was fired, we have not filled the GM position just of yet. And once David Stearns was hired as president baseball operations, it was pretty clear that there weren't going to be any rush to hire one, especially since he needed to come in and look for a new manager and look for a couple of new coaches. We knew his hiring of the general manager position would be one of the last things on his list. And Andy Martino asked him about if he's made a decision on it, and he says he hasn't yet. Last Thursday he said this, and he hasn't settled on whether or not to fill the position at all. And Stearns says that's right. So he still is kind of keeping it up in the air. I'm sure this is something that he'll address in the off season. There are a couple of candidates to be hired as GM. We've heard rumblings of maybe Jeremy Hefner, the pitching coach, possibly being the new GM. But with the success that he's had with this Mets pitching staff so far throughout his tenure, I don't know if that would be the best decision to make. We see Dodgers GM Brandon Gomes, Brewers GM Matt Arnold, who David Stearns can bring over the team back up with. He has there's going to be a good amount of guys on the open market that could be hired for the GM position next year. Is it even the right decision? I mean, with the way this team is looking, it does seem like they could use a little bit of help in that front office, because when it comes to David Stearns has no doubt made some great moves so far this offseason. But I think if you were able to bring in another mind into that room to make decisions, I think it would just help this organization out a little bit more, especially since they're having not the best luck with this roster so far. They got to re-sign Pete Alonso. They got to figure out what they're doing with Pete Alonso this offseason. And, of course, all these new young prospects coming up, looking to replace these guys that are free agents like Harrison Bader, Jeff McNeil, a trade candidate, Luis Severino, Sean Manaea, and Jose Iglesias, all guys that can be free agents after this year. We have a ton of young prospects that could come up and be replacements for them. Luis Angel Acuna, Brandon Sproat, and of course now Christian Scott, who's already making his case. We'll see everything that will happen with the Mets, but it is not the offseason yet. They're still looking for a playoff push, and they need to pick it up right now during this 9-game homestand before things fall apart. We already got you guys. I mean, look, Mets fans already know this. The post All-Star break collapse is always inevitable with this franchise, and hopefully David Stearns can spark something in this team that can so that they can sustain their spot in the wild card race. That is all for now from me here with Michael DeAngelo, Mets Digest. Make sure you guys subscribe, and we will be back here with another video sooner or later, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye for now, guys.